It's Emily. I have been meaning to do this video for a while and honestly just kind of lost track of it until about a week ago. It popped back up on my radar because I need to do a couple of other videos and remembered I kind of need to lay the foundation on this. So there were a couple of legislative bills from last session that were successful getting through the legislative process and signed into law. And they deal with curriculum transparency. They prohibit DEI, a couple other little things in there. But they're huge for our state. So it's really important that parents know about these now laws and what your rights are and what you need to be accessing and reviewing when it comes to your kids, specifically in public schools. I know we focus on public schools a lot. So these may apply to private schools too. I'll be honest, like I've just not looked into that part of it because we just don't have as many issues in the private school as we do public. So these may apply to both. Like I said, I've not looked that deep into it. But I want to spend just a few minutes today going over what was called SB 48. So it was the Senate Bill 48. It had a couple of, well, a good bit of sponsors last year. There's some good stuff in this bill. There's a couple of things that I really did not like. I noticed on a couple of websites, and I'll walk you through this in a minute. One of my concerns, I think, are some school systems are kind of naturally just putting stuff online, which is good. But the bill itself is what I will call curriculum transparency. You'll see, I'm going to walk you through a couple of school websites in a minute. They call it something different, but in my language, it's curriculum transparency. So in a nutshell, this law now requires schools to post their curriculum online for parents to review. I'll send the link so anyone that's nerdy like me and you like to read it and get into the details, you can do that. It's not a super long bill, but you know, in the world we live in, anything over half of a paragraph is too much for us these days. But like I said, in a nutshell, it focuses on curriculum transparency. It requires schools to put a link or access to approved curriculum, I should say, on the website. There's a couple of stipulations for maybe your smaller, more rural schools that don't have a website, how they can post it somewhere different. But I think for the most part, schools have their own websites. If the school itself doesn't, the district usually does. I've not come across a district that doesn't have that. So it may exist out there and I've just not found it. Who knows? But it talks about, you know, the requirement to post curriculum online. I think it says, the beginning of each school year and no later than 30 days after the new or adopted curriculum. So we're to that point, schools are starting to post this. I honestly thought that this went into effect on October 1. So that's part of kind of my confusion with everything, because I know not everything's posted yet. So I think there's probably some implementation grace period going on right now, but I'll kind of walk through that on a couple of these websites in a minute. The bill, or the law, I should say, also walks through if parents have questions about supplemental material. And again, I'm not going to read all this, but it talks about how parents or guardians can request that supplemental information. There's a form they have to fill out. And one of my complaints requests, I guess, during legislative session was that it needs to be required that that form is posted online, because if parents don't know that they can request additional information, then they're not going to request it. So I've noticed a couple of school districts have posted it online, the form that is. So that's good. I was really glad to see that. Here was my biggest issue with this now law, and it's still my biggest issue. I have major heartburn over this. And I will read this part. Any complaint filed by a parent or guardian pursuant to this section is an educational record of the student on whose behalf the complaint was filed. Talks about how it should be reviewed or released, you know, basically through a FOIA. And somewhere in all of it, it talks about how the Department of Ed has to report to the legislator every year how many complaints they've had. So that's why they're that's why they're tracking the number of complaints that are filed. I have no issue tracking the number of complaints filed and reporting that to the legislator. I think that part's good, because you could see if there's an issue with one particular school over and over and over, like that makes sense. I have issue that we're tying it to the student's school record, because the parent had a question or a complaint. I think that's a little too much. It feels very much Big Brother like for me, and I don't like that. But anyways, so that's the law in a nutshell. Again, I will post the link for anybody that wants to go out there and read it in detail. But it allows parents access to view curriculum online without having to request it from the school. Now, this is the approved curriculum. Teachers do use supplemental materials. We all know that. This does not cover supplemental. Supplemental material, you, the parent, guardian, have to request that. And it actually does say that teachers have to provide a summary back to any request. And if you want to get into detail beyond that, like I have tried in the past, there's a complaint form that you can fill out. So there are some good measures in there. I do really appreciate the step forward we've taken, but there's still a couple of things in there that I'm not personally a fan of. All right, so I am going to attempt to share my screen to show you some of the things that I have found just to make this a little easy. So hopefully y'all can see this. So these are the websites, and I'm going to go through just a couple of different school websites. This is not a good or a bad thing on any of these schools. I just happened to be looking for different things and I found some of this. So I thought, well, it'd be worth kind of walking through it. So you should be able to go out to your school system and find all of this on their website. If you don't see something, call the superintendent, whoever it is, and ask them where the link is. Because like I said, something should be out there. It may not be everything just yet, because that's what I'm seeing is that it's kind of a work in progress, which is fair because this is a lot of content. When you start looking at it, it's a lot. So I'm just going to go through a couple of these so y'all can kind of get an idea of what this should look like. And then you can go look at your own school's website and see what you can find. I highly encourage everybody to do this. Yes, it's time consuming and it can be rather boring at times, but I'm telling you, the content out here is absolutely amazing. You can very easily see if there's something that shouldn't be there. Not to say if you look on here that everything's good to go, you have no concerns or nothing to be worried about. You still need to keep asking questions, but this gives you a starting point. So I thought this is really good. So this is Decatur City Schools. Decatur's doing really good. There's a lot of content out here. I, for some reason, just chose secondary instruction, and I didn't start at the very beginning. I just kind of nosed around on all of this. But you've got all these different options. You can look at the plans. You can look at the grading policy, dual enrollment. Actually, I think I was here. So you can just click through all these different things. They had summer assignments, and then you could click on each one of those. Somewhere, like I said, I kind of played around with it a while. Okay, parents' right to know. So this is the actual law right here that you'll see. So when you go to your specific school website, you want to look for that Parents' Right to Know Act. Like I said, I call it curriculum transparency because that was my focus is, oh, we can actually see curriculum. This is what it's actually known as. So when you're on your website, look for that phrase, and that should be your starting point. I did look at one website where they had that act listed, and it was basically like this write-up, what the intent was. The curriculum stuff was in a different piece. So if you click on that piece and all you get is like the text part of it and there's no curriculum piece, keep digging because it should be out there. But yeah, so this is it. Curriculum and instruction. It talks about the law, and then you've got all these different things down here. So the courses of study, you can click on that. That'll take you to the Alabama State Department of Education. It gives you pacing guides, which I've got one of those open here in a minute. The curricula and instructions. So you've got all this stuff out here. So Open Court is the curriculum, the name of the curriculum by McGraw-Hill. I will say Open Court is the better option of what some of the schools have. A lot of schools have something called CKLA, Core Language, Core Knowledge, Language Arts, something like that. If you have that in your school, you need to be digging into it very, very, very closely. There's weird stuff in that. But yeah, so this is kind of it. It's a starting point. Like I said, don't look at this and go, okay, everything looks good. I don't have to do anything else. Keep digging, keep asking questions, keep putting your eyes on stuff. Because this is just the top level stuff. I also like that they had the contact information on the site. A lot of schools don't put that out for the public. So it's really hard to get in touch with your superintendent or your school principals. I love that Decatur had this, and they have it posted several different places. So kudos to Decatur for making that so easy to find. Um, this page was again Decatur. This was the curriculum guide, and I didn't read through all of these because, as you can see, this is a lot of content. And in all honesty, this is not my school system, so I need to spend my time digging into that more than these other school systems. So I hope there are parents in Decatur that see this and you're interested and you dig into it and you can tell me what everything says. Again, contact information in here. I thought that was amazing. Good for you guys for being so transparent with that. And then this just walks through, what the core classes are, what they do. There's a lot of information in here. Then this is the pacing guide. And this was a new term. I don't really know what a pacing guide is, but it looks to go through a lot of detail on this is math, what the fourth grade does for math. So it talks about the standards, the vocabulary, like it does a lot. And then, you could flip through whatever grade you wanted to on this. And I'm assuming there's probably other ones that were not math. There's probably some reading ones out there too. So that was Decatur's. Like I said, theirs was really good. They've got a lot of content out here, a lot of stuff that you can be digging into. I was going to try to find and see if I can remember how I got there, but I don't think I can. But yeah, Decatur's was really good. So kudos to you guys. The other one I looked at was Coleman. And I'm starting on this page because it's the Parents' Right to Know, right? That's the name for this. But this one specifically had the form out here. So if you wanted to look at supplemental, and it tells you right here, whoops, if I can get that, supplemental instruction materials. If you are in Coleman City and you want to know what supplemental material your child's teacher is using, there's a form right here. And it walks you through kind of the process, where it goes, all that stuff. And then even after you do your supplemental review, if you had questions and you had concerns, you wanted to file a complaint, the form is also posted here. So I found that to be super helpful for a parent, that everything's kind of a one-stop shop, that if you needed to fill out a form, file a complaint, whatever it is, it's on this website. So loved that. Kudos to you, Coleman City. And then I think if you click on this adopted curricula, that's where it starts going into these pages. I cannot access these. I'm assuming it's because I don't have a child in that school system. Maybe there's like a login that you all have to have. I don't know. It also could be that they've not made this page public yet because they're still trying to update everything. I mean, you saw the stuff on the Decatur website. There's a ton of stuff out there. So it could just be that they've not made this public yet. But it is out here, and it clearly says curriculum transparency. So it's out here. It's available for people to access at some point in time. So if you're in Coleman City Schools, check this out, see if you can access it. And if you can't, ask why. It could be very much just timing issues. But if you have a kid in the city school system, then you should be able to access that at some point. And then this was Hoover, I believe. Yep. And then this was the same thing. The form to file a complaint, request information, all of that stuff is out here on their website. And I just wanted to put it up here for the same reason I just said. This was one of my concerns with the original bill in the spring, was that this wasn't a requirement to make this part public. So I was glad to see that they've done that. Oops, see if I can get that out of the way. And then this was part of their curriculum resources. This is pretty much all I could find on Hoover. There could be more out there. I'm not suggesting that they're not doing it. This is just what I could find in the little bit of time I've devoted to looking at these. But this basically is just This is elementary, of course, but this is just the publisher, I guess is the right term, for their course of study and then the grades. So you could easily look at it and kind of figure out who they're using for what. And then, of course, if you have questions, then you could go to your school and ask for more there. Um, but I've just not spent as much time digging into. There's the course of study. So there's probably some good information there. So if you're in Hoover, dig around on this website some more, see what you can find. If there's not more stuff published maybe in the next month or so, then probably ask some questions. Let's see what that is. Okay, that's how I got to that page. So yeah, I would expect there to be more on this. So I would just check that. If there's not some more stuff posted before too long, I would ask questions because I feel like there should be more on that. But that's kind of it. I just wanted to spend a few minutes walking through that, helping you guys see or understand what the law is, what the requirements are, and then what I think I'm still sharing my screen. I want to turn that off. Maybe not. And then how to kind of review this stuff, how to dig around on websites and kind of poke around and see what you can find. So take a couple minutes, go to your school's website, see what you can find. If you find anything super helpful or not helpful, well, especially if it's not helpful, reach out to your school superintendent, your curriculum people, and let them know you're not finding what you need, and just see it. Like I said, it could be a timing thing. But you need to know. So take the time to look at your website, get familiar with it, know what your rights are, ask the questions. And along the way, if you need help with stuff, let us know. We're here to help as a resource to you guys. And if you can't find anything, then certainly let us know because we need to figure out how to elevate that issue. So I hope this is helpful. Be on the lookout. I've got another video I'm going to do for the DEI bill. So they passed a law that prohibits DEI in the state of Alabama, and it's everything, right? Like it's elementary school, middle school, high school, colleges, all of it. So that one's a little bit more complex, but it's definitely something that we need as parents need to know what is DEI, how to look for it, and more importantly, when we find it, how to report it. I've already been talking to some folks across the state on how do we get ahead of that, because we know there are issues out there that we're going to need to report. So how do we get ready to report things when we find it? So like I said, if you have questions, let us know. We're here to help. I will post a link to that bill or that law so y'all know have it. But yeah, if y'all need anything else, just let us know. Thanks, guys.